How's it going, good people? My name's Pedro, and today we're going to be looking at another GPU, specifically an RTX 3090 AMP Core Holo from Zotac. Now this GPU is massive, costs a lot, and is almost impossible to find. As I've seen from the RTX 30 unboxing I did for the MSI 3070, I could see that a lot of people in the comments were commenting how basically it's impossible to get a card right now, and I really do feel for you. In looking for this GPU for a mate of mine for an upcoming build that's going to be on the channel, it is a ridiculous card to find any kind of RTX card, let alone this 3090 out here. In looking for an RTX 3090, the cheapest card I could find online was around 4K, which, believe it or not, was probably this card that I ended up picking up here, which is kind of ridiculous to think in 2021 amidst everything that's happening right now, that trying to get a single graphics card can cost about a quarter of some people's car. In fact, this GPU we're looking at today costs more than the entire rig that I film, edit, and play games off on a day-by-day basis. So I'm definitely excited to have a look into this card. It definitely should pack a lot of performance if the price is anything to go off. Now, before we jump into the video today, if I could take 2 seconds of your time to quickly hit that like button, maybe get subscribed if you're not, because we're going to be putting this GPU into a fantastic build up and coming. All right, without further ado, let's jump into it. So as we go ahead and unbox the AMP Core Holo, I want to take a second to talk through some of the technical specifications of the RTX 3090. To start off with, you get over 10,000 CUDA cores in this GPU. This basically means that any sort of resolution you'd want to play your games at, this GPU will have no issue at all. 8K, 4K, 1080p, even ultra-wide resolutions are no issue at all for this GPU. Couple that with the fact you get 24 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory means that with any resolution, you also can play any game at any graphical fidelity you want. The AMP Core Holo also boasts a boost clock of 1755 MHz. Now this is well above the rated boost clock of the Founders Edition cards, and this is due to the beefy heatsink that sits on top of this GPU, allowing it to turbo up longer and higher than the Founders Edition's cards. Now, this all adds up to the GPU consuming over 370 watts from the wall. So long story short, this GPU is a powerhouse when it comes to gaming or pretty much anything else you'd want to do on your computer. Heck, even workloads that aren't gaming related can still benefit from this GPU, whether you're rendering video, CAD modeling, or basically doing anything that a GPU can be used for. The RTX 3090 is no slouch and will literally not bottleneck your system whatsoever. When it comes to the pros and cons on this card out here, to start with, I really like the build on this card. It is fantastically made. It is crafted to perfection, feels like a tank, and is sturdy all the way through. It has enough RGB that it is tasteful without being over the top, and to top it all off, it has enough aesthetical differences to stick out from the other pack, and at the same time still be able to blend in into any sort of system config you can imagine. On top of that as well, this GPU is thick, but is still manageable. At about 2.5 slots, this should fit in most small form factor cases. Unfortunately, if you're running anything that is ultra small form factor, something like a DAN case or something like the SGPC I run my daily rig in, you're definitely not going to be able to fit this GPU in. But for something like an N case or potentially the Cooler Master NR200, you shouldn't have any real issue fitting this GPU in. All in all, I really like this GPU, just because of how solid and the longevity you're expecting to get out of this card. At $4,000, I really would expect this card to last a couple of years. And for reference, I still run a GTX 1080 Ti, and that's about 4 or 5 years old. So I really don't see any reason why this 3090 shouldn't last the test of time. Now, all of that being said, this card really isn't perfect. There are a lot of things I'm not a fan of. The biggest of which is definitely the price tag. I don't care how you say it or how you can justify it, I think $4,000 for a GPU is just way too expensive. There are plenty of other things you could invest either for your PC or elsewhere in your life that I think an extra $1,000 or two would really go the extra mile. Now, along with that as well, I did say that this GPU is on the bigger side as well. Now, that being said, I do like my ultra small form factor cases, and unfortunately, this GPU will not be compatible for many of them. There are definitely other cases that this card would look good in, but once again, it's not the smallest card in the world, and rightfully so. It is a lot of power, and it is definitely a lot of heat being pushed out from this card as well. Now, all of that being said, let's wrap this all up and basically get some perspective on this card. The good, the bad, and ultimately what is the middle ground and my final thoughts on it. So first off, would I end up recommending this card to anyone out there? Once again, it really depends on effectively what you're looking for when it comes to a GPU. If you're just looking for something that will get the job done and be a great value for money, you're obviously in the wrong space. Look at a 3070, look at a 3060. I know they're hard to come by, but effectively they're going to be paying a lot less than this card, even with the inflated prices. Now, on top of that as well, if you are looking specifically at a 3090, I can't recommend the Amp Holo enough. It is a fantastically built card. It is definitely on the slimmer side when it comes to the other 3090s, and all in all, building with this card is a breeze. It doesn't have the proprietary connector such as the Founders Editions cards do. It is basically 3 8-pin adapters and you should be fine to go. And I really think if you're after a high-end card and you have the money to spend on this, I really think it is a fantastic buy. Even looking at the 3080 Ti's that are out there, this graphics card definitely does come out at a better value. It costs a little more than the 3080 Ti, but at the same time, if you are looking for the best of the best, there's really nothing else you can expect than the 3090. Heck, it's one of the few GPUs that they can actually boast and show off 8K gaming at 60 FPS, which is truly phenomenal if you think about it. Well, that's been it from me, guys. Let me know what you thought down in the description. Do you think these GPUs are just still way too expensive to buy now? Have you guys managed to find any other deals, even on 3090s or lower graphics cards as well? I'd love to hear from you. Either way, guys, my name's been Pedro. I hope you all have a good one.